Saturday. Christmas comes early.
Unbelievable! Welcome to this incredible scene.
Bills.
To the end zone!
Chargers.
It's a touchdown!
An exclusive NFL game.
That's fantastic!
Live in primetime.
Wow!
Only on Peacock.
With a Christmas gift to their fans. They're having some fun now.
Bills versus Chargers. Saturday, 7:30 Eastern. Exclusively on Peacock.
Support for this podcast comes from Frito-Lay and the 2023 Snack Bracket Championship. The Frito-Lay Snack-A Challenge is underway, and fans are voting on their favorite snacks to crown champion. We're talking about prime-time matchups between the best 64 snacks in the land. Will Ruffles Ridges reign supreme? Can Doritos defend their dynasty? Or will Smart Food use their smarts for a surprise upset? Only you can decide. Get in on all the action for a chance to win up to $1,000 or a year's worth of snacks. Let your snacks be heard. Just go to fritolaysnacket.sbnation.com to vote and enter for a chance to win. No purchase necessary. Sweepstakes ends April 3rd, 2023. Void where prohibited. Year's worth of snacks awarded in the form of 52 coupons, each good for one bag of chips. See official rules at fritolaysnacket.sbnation.com.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Mavs Moneyball After Dark. It's Kirk Henderson and Josh Bowe. We are coming to you on Thursday night at about 9:15. The Dallas Mavericks played a nationally televised game against the Boston Celtics with an earlier than normal start time, something we're going to miss in the coming Western Conference road trip. The Dallas Mavericks absolutely got waxed by the Boston Celtics, 124-95. It was not much of a game from the opening tip. Luka Doncic looked off. Also, the Boston Celtics are very good, and the Mavericks' 7-game win streak came to a crashing halt. How are you, Josh?
I'm doing okay. Can't say like a lot of the Mavericks' recent games. I can't say I'm too surprised with the result. That 7-game win streak was awesome, but they took care of business. They were the overwhelming favorite in every single one of those games, and now they played a team where that's better than them, and they lost. Kind of how it goes.
I mean, the absence of Finney Smith and Josh Green and obviously Maxi Kleber, but Kleber's probably just not coming back, felt particularly clear in this game. The Celtics are built for a title. They are long. All 5 positions can move the ball, can dribble, can shoot. They have a great bench. And Dallas Mavericks do not. And, a few of the guys in our Slack were really pissed about this, which I was sort of amused by, because I did not expect Dallas to win this game. I hoped they would make a better fight of things, but Luka looked terrible. And if Luka's going to look terrible, you're not going to win. Everything else is downhill from that.
Yeah, I think what was maybe disappointing about this game was it was a blowout. It's their first. They won by 29 points. It's the first time the Mavericks have lost by 20 plus points since the December 10th game against the Bulls, where they rested Luka on the second night of a back-to-back. And then before that, they hadn't lost by 20 in a while. I'm kind of looking up and down the schedule. It had been a while. So they don't lose by big margins a lot this season, despite the slow start. So I think that, combined with the fact that I don't even think this was Boston's best game. They didn't play lights out necessarily.
They shot the ball only okay. 37% is good, but
you get an 8 for 22 night from Tatum. You think that you're probably going to be competitive against Boston, but just about every single player besides Tatum just absolutely killed them. And Tatum was passing the ball pretty well. They had 29 assists. It was really crisp.
Well, friend of the show, I still have him on the masthead because I hope one day he will come write a piece for us again, because we don't have word counts like those bums at D Magazine. Iztok Franco had a thread up where he's just talked about how the defense is actually, we don't really notice this, but the defense has gotten worse during the win streak. Now that's not obvious. That should be kind of obvious because they're missing their best defensive players, but this game, it was just very evident. Tim Hardaway cannot be the guy guarding Jason Tatum. There was a move. I think it was, which half was it? It might've been in the third quarter, 8 minutes on a fast break. he had a move on Spencer Dinwiddie in the open court where he shimmied just so and got Spencer in the air at the 3-point line and then drove to the lane and finished it. And it's like these Spencer, Luka, Wood, Hardaway are all, neutral defenders at best and negative on most against good teams. And so this felt sort of written into the stars, and I'm not particularly bothered by it. It comes back to a lot of the same challenges we've seen. I mean, at one point in the third quarter, Jason Kidd had a lineup out there that featured Luka Doncic, Dorian Finney-Smith. I'm sorry. My dog walked in here confusing me. A lineup that featured Luka, Dwight Powell, McKinley Wright, Frank Ntilikina, and who was the last player?
Was it Hardy?
It was Hardy. And that's not a lineup of a team that you can expect to do anything. And I wasn't mad about any of it. It's like there have been some odd social media conversations where it's like, I've gotten a lot better about this, about like basically raining on everybody's happy parade because I want you to enjoy the wins. But if you're talking like I've been part of extensive group chats where people want, we should sign McKinley Wright for the rest of the year. He's great. He's fine. I don't want to think about McKinley Wright though. That's not an indictment of him. It's just a sort of he's
a two-way guy.
Yeah, and that's fine.
Yeah.
And it's really the talent depth, the talent dearth on this team is at once a problem, but also I don't think it wasn't why they lost. They lost because the Celtics are really good. They probably would have lost with Josh and Dorian Finney-Smith healthy.
Yeah, probably. And it's, it's trying to find that balance during that winning streak because Kirk, we've been watching Maverick, just basketball for a long time. Obviously, we've been watching the Mavericks most of our lives. I don't remember a stretch of games that the Mavericks just wrapped up when they played Houston on Monday. Like, I don't ever remember a team playing a schedule like that, like a 7-game stretch like that. I mean, 6 of the 7 games were against teams that are currently 11th, 12th, 14th, and 15th in the Western Conference.
Right.
4 of the 5 non-play-in teams were 6 of your 7 games. Like, that's I can't remember that ever happening. Like, that was, I mean, I'm sure it has. Like, NBA 82 games over as many seasons as the NBA. Like, I'm sure that some things like that happen. But like, and then their one team against winning team was the Knicks team that's, not very, they're a playoff team in the East, but they're a weird team. So it's just bizarre. Like, you don't usually go through an NBA schedule like that. Like, usually you'll get like one contender or you'll get like one really good, you'll get something in between that. But they just kept playing. Just Minnesota, Houston, Lakers, Houston, San Antonio, Houston, like with New York shoved in the middle there. Like, it was just crazy. And it's been really difficult to talk about the team because it's obvious that they needed it. And it's great that they took care of business because they weren't winning those games earlier in the season. They lost to Orlando, they lost to Oklahoma City, they lost to Washington, they lost to Detroit. So like, it was good. Like, we're not trying to take anything away from it. But on the other hand, like, there has to be some balance. Like, it saved their season, but they also did what they were supposed to do if we consider this a good team, which we do. We consider them a solid, good playoff team. They had to win. Like, if they would have lost 2 or more games in that stretch, we would have been like, what the hell is going on?
Sure.
So they had to win, but at the other end, it's like, Boston's not Houston, man. Like, it's just weird because there's gonna be a desire for the people that don't think this team is very good. This is a game that they can point to and be like, well, that win streak was nothing. It didn't matter. And then there's people who think this team is good. That's like, well, this is just kind of expected result, and I feel like we can just find a middle ground here where it was like, the win streak was great. It was required. They took care of business. They're not at the level of Boston, but that's like, okay. Like, this roster's even this roster at full strength is not at the level of Boston talent wise. So, it's okay. Like, it's hard to get, like you said, you can't really get mad at this result. Other than maybe if you had hopes that they could carry the winning into maybe a bit more of a competitive game. But other than that, what are you going to do? You're missing
and
your limited team, missing 3 players in your rotation.
And the snarky person in me wants to really there's some statistical oddities on this where it's just like Reggie Bullock once again just awful.
Oh my God, man!
Like he's just having a rough go. I've been pretty firmly in the I think Reggie will turn around camp, but he's got to turn it around at some point, and he's just not showing anything. You go through the entire starting lineup. Like we know the stats when Tim Hardaway shoots poorly, but he had great looks early and could not connect. And if Dallas was to have a chance, he needed to knock some things down. He missed bunnies. He was bad. Spencer Dinwiddie was inefficient, but not atrocious in my opinion. He just the man can't finish sometimes. I don't understand. I really don't understand it. Luka was a mess. I wonder if Luka's sick. I also wonder what Luka's injury status is now. He played 31 minutes. That's got to be the lowest he's played in 2-3 weeks. But Christian Wood, in my opinion, there's been just an unending amount of chatter for Christian Wood related to contract stuff. And I don't want to single him out, but I would like him to have a good game against a good team.
I don't think that's a ridiculous request.
And I'm going to somebody's going to come at me tomorrow and say, hey, he has been good because blah, 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 blah. And
he was really good again that blowout win against Portland. He was pretty good in the overtime loss to the Cavaliers, but I know what you mean.
So that part is a bit of a struggle bus for me. I don't know.
He was also the only guy that was rebounding tonight. So
he did, and he found himself, but he never boxes out. He's just in the right place. He runs underneath the basket, and he got some good offensive rebounds, which is nice. I don't want to crush that, but I don't know. I'm not down on it. It's just I wanted to see this was a game where I truly feel that there was nothing to take away from it, just nothing, and I'm gonna get. Congratulations to Jaden Hardy for his 15 points in 15 minutes. He played really hard when he went in the game.
Yeah, that was really nice.
I was excited to see him play hard. He was 3 from 3. His shot looked good. He was driving hard. He had 3 of the Mavs 7 3-pointers, which is hysterical. But I also don't want to read too much into it. He looked he's small. He's small, and another undersized shooting guard is not particularly interesting to me for where Dallas is going. I cannot invest in that. That doesn't mean I think he's bad. I think he's probably going to be an interesting role player. It's just this team's timeline is in a different place for me to really one of the season previews for him that we had was if Jaden Hardy matters, then we're not in a great spot.
But it's easy to watch a game like this, and if it's okay, if all these guys are hurt, why can't you play him instead of McKinley Wright or Frank Ntilikina?
Or Tim Hardaway? Mix it up, do something. And I don't understand. That's the area that, because you saw we watch Bullock get 37 minutes of running around, Hardaway get 37 minutes running around. It's I'm pretty sure the defensive differences between those 3 at this point is marginal. They're all 3 bad at defense. So let's at least see the young guy. Yeah.
I think the biggest thing I noticed watching this game, the Mavericks offense still produced some good looks because Luka is Luka. But did you notice how much one-on-one basketball there was by the Mavericks tonight? It seemed excessive, the amount of just pick and roll, switch, attack one-on-one. And That's okay. They tried to pick on Horford, which makes sense in some certain situations. They tried to pick on
Luka had a move on Horford early in the game where he armbarred him out of the way, and it was oh my God.
And Horford's still a good defender and
a big man.
Yeah. So that part was okay, but it felt like the team felt like they were wait, we're not catching the ball and we're not wide open, or I'm not taking one dribble and I'm already at the rim. That's what's been happening against Houston and San Antonio. and the Lakers. Like they've
Mhm.
just been playing some of the worst like though not only those three teams are the teams they've been playing have been bad, but like Houston and San Antonio might be the two worst defensive teams in the NBA. I don't have the numbers up, but their defense is what's especially bad about them. And it really felt like the Mavericks were just like, oh wait, like why am I not getting a layup after I took one
Mhm.
dribble? And it's like, oh, because Robert Williams is there, because Jaylen Brown is there, and Jason Tatum's there. Like, it just kind of it just kind of felt like a team that was like some going out partying or something, and then you wake up in the morning and there was the cold reality of the harsh morning kind of set in this game, and it was like that stuff's not. You can beat Houston and San Antonio with that stuff, but you're not going to beat Boston with a two-way player getting major minutes. Not major minutes, we played 7, but being part of your rotation.
Yep.
The bench was horrible because there's not, it's not their fault. It's just there's no bench left. Like Maxey and Josh Green were part of the bench, and when Dorian was healthy, Reggie was part of the bench, or Tim. So it's not the team's fault, but it was just a little reminder that 7-game win streak was crucial, but it didn't necessarily change the outlook in terms of like, I've always seen this team as like a 4 or 5 seed, close to 49, 50 wins, and Boston is like trying for 60 to win the conference. They're just in that tier below, and I don't know. There wasn't a lot I feel like they could counter with because they just didn't have the guys. Like what are you going to do? Like they're playing one-on-one basketball. Okay, we got to mix it up. Well,
yeah, Kid tried every player.
Yeah.
It's just you get into the thick of the bench, and the players they're not very good.
Yeah. And the 14th and 15th, 13th best players on your roster usually aren't going to be
Right.
that
That's
good.
yeah.
So
Yeah, that's true.
yeah,
That's true.
they were looking for that Bertans. Like Bertans going 0 for 3 from 3 really sucked. Like I feel like they were really like, okay, if we get back in this game, we're just going to need to make a bunch of these 3-pointers, and then he didn't do anything, and it was like, all right, that was the wild card.
We've talked about this, and we'll continue to talk about this, but you're noting of the isolation offense. A lot of it, I think, is predicated on the fact if somebody's going to hit a 3, which will then free up the isolation scorers to do better if the 3s are going down. But if Dallas was roughly 4 of 29 outside, yeah, that's what they were, 4 of 29 outside of Hardy's made 3s. There's no looseness going on at the defense. In fact, it only got worse. Like Luka had some horrendous turnovers tonight because he was looking for passes where he would normally find them. Only the defense did not care. And with his sort of 8 to 12 foot game off tonight, like he's shooting a little hard. Everything came off the backboard a little hard. There's just no easy offense for the Mavericks, and I'm not. It's not gonna happen against a team like this. It's just a reminder where they're very dependent on shooting. I mean, you go through this lineup, and I like Kemba Walker just doesn't really matter anymore. I don't know what to say really. I'm not. This was a scheduled loss to an extent when they play New Orleans.
Today's episode is brought to you by Cars.com. With over 2 million vehicles and 50,000 more added every day, Cars.com will match you with the perfect car for you, your budget, your life, your style. And if you're ready to say goodbye to your current car, Cars.com will get you an instant offer to cash it in. Just start by entering your license plate and get matched with a local dealer who will write you the check. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, just go to Cars.com. It's magical.
On Saturday and Oklahoma City on Sunday, those are going to be very interesting bellwether games compared to this one because the Pelicans are very injured, but they're also much deeper than Dallas. So if Dallas gets whacked by them, that's going to be a cause for alarm. And if they lose to Oklahoma City, who is also kind of teetering on the edge of Tankapalooza, then that will be alarming. It's just we're in such a strange place. It's just such a strange place. I hope they don't make a panic trade is really where my head is going because I just don't see this team doing anything astronomically amazing this year. Maybe that's just me. I don't know.
I mean, no, it makes sense. I mean, we're gonna have the Maxey thing really throws a lot off.
It does.
He was such a lynch, like, he's kind of like the glue that's like takes them from being like a more balanced team. A team that relies so many on one-way players. Like Tim and Spencer are mostly all offense, little defense. Luka plays defense when he can. Some of these guys, Dorian and Reggie being more defensive-minded players. Maxey being able to spot up and hit threes and also play defense was just kind of their glue.
Yep.
Man, and the one thing I will say, like, there's not much to take away in terms of like there were no surprises. This is kind of the expectation this is the result we expected. Man, I'm just circling back to Reggie, and it's hard to explain. Maybe it's not hard to explain. He shot 37.5% from 3 in December, which, considering where he was in November, and
pretty darn good.
Yeah, but he only took 4 a game, and he played 28 minutes, basically 29 minutes a night. His attempts are so down compared to a year ago, and then the year before that when he was on that playoff team in New York. That's the part that really scares me. Like, it is nice that he will occasionally have a 2 for 4 game, a 3 for 5, a 3 for 4. But this is a guy that was he's averaging about 1.4 3-point shots made, and his minutes are about roughly in line with the last 2 seasons. I mean, he was making over two threes per game the last 2 seasons. I know some of that's just he's not shooting well enough, but his attempts are down. Like, he was 6.1 in 2021 and 5.8 last season. He's 4.3 now, and his minutes haven't changed that much. I mean, I remember we talked about this in one pot. Like, I looked up his per 100 possession 3-point attempts, and I don't have it in front of me right now, but I could tell you it's not good compared to like his best seasons. And that's the thing that's worrying, because we've seen this Mavs team, when Tim is shooting so much, he can kind of like shoot his way out of a bad game. Like, we've seen games where he starts. We've seen games where he starts like 0 for 3, 0 for 4. We're like, and then he finishes 6 for 14 from 3, like, because he keeps going. But like, if these 0 for 1s, these 1 for 4s, like, it's just
while playing. And it's got to be said, bad defense.
Yeah, not up to his standard. Not
bad
up to his
defense.
standard at all.
The Celtics are not a good bellwether because everybody on their team can dribble, but darn, it's something to see.
Yeah, I'm trying not to like blame like this game.
It's
just, if we're talking about like things that have been like, if we're trying to look for like longer trends that could be either a positive, like this Reggie thing, like, we just keep waiting and waiting for him to turn it around and start looking like the guy that he was a season ago, and like it's there for a game and then it goes away.
Yep.
And that's huge. They really need that, and it's just a bummer that it hasn't showed up yet.
Yeah. Well, again, we note that they played 2 games this weekend, so we'll have some more to talk about, some more minutes. I mean, I think, Luka did play in the last New Orleans game, and they did not take that one seriously. They did not play any defense, and neither did Zion, but the Pelicans still scored a ton. So obviously the Mavericks are not a particularly good defensive team right now, but they need to show a little more fight on Saturday. It just depends what they want to be. I don't know what they want to be. Tim McMahon says kind of over and over again, not making the playoffs or something in the first year of Luka's extension would be unacceptable. And I, at the moment, don't see a path for the Mavericks to get particularly better, not just in the short term, but also until like 2025. They have so many bad contracts. And it's not that I think they're terrible. Luka has a floor. It's just kind of confusing me. It's like, okay, well, we're going to go try as hard as we can to go do a thing and just hope for hot shooting. And that's not fun to watch. Like, I don't know. I'm feeling like moderately ungrateful. Like, I feel like I'm being ungrateful because we just watched a really good Luka stretch, but I don't have a firm, like, there's so many reasonable built-in excuses for what this team is. right now. And I have a feeling that that's going to be used as kind of a leverage point if things go sideways, where it's, oh, well, the team wasn't good because of this. The team wasn't good also because of those things. Not, it's like the team construction was weird. They made a lot of weird choices in the first 20 games of the season. They had a lot of things not go their way. I don't know, man.
I think what adds to this weirdness is that the West is not as good as we thought it was going to be. Like, let's be real. If we thought, we thought the West was going to be a train wreck in terms of like just like so many really good teams, like the Warriors, the Suns, the Clippers, even, the Lakers, the Timberwolves, like just teams that have performed under expectations. Like we expected. I mean, people still think the Clippers are a title contender, and they just kind of are just hovering.
They're getting waxed by the Nuggets right now. That could change, but
but and they're just a weird team because Kawhi just doesn't play a lot, and Golden State is a weird team, and Steph's hurt, and the Timberwolves, the Gobert trade is a disaster. The Lakers just had a horrible offseason, and we just kind of assumed that they would be better, and they're not. And so it makes things weird because the Mavericks are 3.5 games out of first place. And it doesn't feel like we're talking about a team that's 3.5 games out of first place, but it's just because the West is weird. So like that makes it even weird. Like, because we knew going into the season that the most likely and optimal outcome in terms of roster building was they're probably going to just stay pat and wait until their draft picks reload and then make that one big trade that they can make. But then if you're working for this team and you're seeing these games and you're like, man, like Memphis is leading the like we can beat like we're better than Memphis, and it's not that hard to talk yourself into. Well, let's go get someone at this deadline because this year is up for grabs, right?
Yeah.
So it's weird. It's very weird. And we're almost at the halfway point of the season, so like. I don't know, like Golden State might go on a run, but like I think the Timberwolves kind of stink. I think the Phoenix Suns are in trouble because Chris Paul has lost a step.
Devin Booker's hurt and Zion's hurt. And you can do all this talking yourself into it. And I heard something on a podcast the other day. It was a football podcast where it said an NFL head coach's job is to win right now. An NFL GM's job is to win 3 years from now. And that's been sort of stuck in my head. Obviously, football and basketball are two very, very different sports. But when you have the superstar, you have to be building for both.
Right.
And I think the Mavericks are probably going to end up fine. I'm really trying to hedge a lot of my bets in that regard because I don't like getting yelled at on social media for having worries about the team. But it's going to be really confusing if the Mavericks somehow putter their way to first place despite having an actually worse team. Like they are worse than last year. This is not. I don't know anybody that could. Well, I'm sure you can throw numbers at me. Like their half-court offense. I think you did this. It was not. I can't remember the guy's name online, but he basically went through cleaning the glass and like filtering out for certain numbers. The Mavericks might have like the best half-court offense in 20 years, which is wild with some of what we've talked about. This is just such a bizarre team. At 20 games, they're weird. At 40 games, they're weird. I'm not tired of talking about them. I just don't have any conclusions to draw, and I hate that. I wish I had more definitive feelings about this team.
Yeah, same. And I think, Luka covers over a lot of warts, and that's what having an all-time talent does. So we'll see. I think at least, we're through that part. Like, I'm going to be honest. People might hate me, but I was ready for that part of the schedule to end. I know the win streak was awesome, and it saved their season. Like, could you imagine if they went like 4-3 in those 7 games instead of 7-0? Like,
at that point, I would have been openly calling for the fact that they just need to sell off pieces and tank. Sorry.
Right. Like that's where they were at as a team. Like they had to win all 7 of those games, or it would have looked really weird. But like I like seeing them against Boston because that tells me more of where they need to go. I want to see them play New Orleans. I want to see them play the Clippers. I want to see them play Portland. I want to see them play Miami, Atlanta. Like. I just want to see these games. They haven't played Sacramento yet. Sacramento is the 5th seed, and they're they're pretty solid right now. Like,
Yeah.
they're still, they've only played Memphis once, and I keep making jokes about how much the Mavericks own the Grizzlies the last year and a half, but I want to see them play the Grizzlies again. Like, I just want to see where they stack up. So I'm glad that they're through that stretch. I'm glad that they took care of business. But even with a bad loss, I feel like I'm learning a little bit more when they play against these teams that they're trying to emulate. They're trying to be at that level. So that matters more to me than seeing like playing 3-4 consecutive games against teams that are trying to lose games, basically. So give me that.
Well, of course, we talk longer about a game we had nothing to talk about. But that's just par for the course. I had fun. I like talking hoops with you.
We had 2 days off.
Yeah, we did have 2 days off. That's a good point. And I need to get back to doing the Moneyball Minute posts. I was just sort of, 1, exhausted, and 2, like moderately despondent. But there's been some good writing on the team. Tim Cato had a fun piece. I recommend people go check out on The Athletic. Mm-hmm. You wrote a really nice piece, like 7 things, number of things we could take away from the win streak. There's good stuff. Again, everybody, you're listening to me here. If you read something or watch something that you think is good, send it to me. I don't have the bandwidth to hop and scroll through things anymore. And I want to both see and read things that are interesting. I like sharing other people's work. It is I'm just going to say it's the end of a 30-minute podcast. My favorite thing is how fucking obvious it is that none of our peers in the Mavs media ever share any of our work ever. I know Twitter doesn't matter to our traffic, it doesn't, but it always makes me laugh where it's like, I have one of the biggest Mavs followings and I share so many people's work. I never see anyone share our stuff. Share our stuff, guys. Thanks. Anyway, we have a ton of like stuff at Mavs Moneyball lately. Obviously not all of it's art, but we're putting up 4 to 5 pieces a day. We have a really fun piece that's either going to come out early next week from Jordan Burdess. We have a breakdown of the Mavs plays that were the NBA top 100 that's coming out tomorrow. Like our guy, we have one guy that does wonderful, like, he trolls YouTube and put together like some of the best videos he's seen, related back to Luka's stuff. Big fan of those sorts of things from Brent Brooks. And it's, I like the work we're doing. It's something for everybody. It's, you'd think that this season would be a bit of a draw, like to write about, but I don't know, we're finding fun things to do. So please come check us out. Josh, you got anything else?
No, I echo everything you said. I think December, we had a lot of games in December, and it's not only was it a lot of games in a month, it was in a month that's like really difficult for our staff because, again, just about majority of the staff is
who wants to work.
And who wants to work their second job that doesn't pay them a lot of money, so the fact that this time of year is when me and you are sending Slack messages are like, hey, you guys want to write about this? That we weren't really, and guys were just taking off and writing about stuff. You mentioned, oh my gosh, I'm going to butcher her name. Met, our columnist.
I hope it's Matt Robinson.
She's
she
quietly
never
been writing.
us.
I know.
I hope she's going to listen to this and laugh. Matt, tell it. I don't want to call her Mrs. Robinson because that makes me feel 1,000 years old. Yeah. But I do want, like, she writes some amazing weekly pieces for us. Yeah. Just great stuff. Like, this is why I got into reading about sports. It's fun. So
right. She's quietly gone on the radar, I feel like, especially kind of bouncing off your point about how none of our media peers care much about what we do.
Right. Which is fine. We wax most people in traffic. So,
so Met's awesome. I love her work, and she just like randomly DM'd us over the summer, and so like that. I always love when stuff like that happens.
Absolutely.
So we got good stuff on the site.
All right. Well, we'll be back on Saturday. Thanks so much for hanging out with you guys. We'll talk soon. This has been Kirk and Josh, Mavs Moneyball After Dark. Bye.